gods, mountain gods, water gods, earth gods, and so forth are actual gods and deities, and if we worship them in our hearts, then we will have no bad luck. For example, if you want to climb a mountain, pray to it and ask its god for protection, and you will not fall or injure yourself during your climb. If you pray to a river god or deity when crossing its river, then you will cross it safely. If you soothe and comfort the trees, flowers, insects, birds, and beasts where you live, then you will face no misfortune. Other people's grievances and curses are very harmful to life. If you do not believe me, then you should live among people who are full of grievances. It will not only make people lose their fighting spirits, courage, and confidence in their pursuit of better lives, but it will also cause people to become depressed, get sick, and have nightmares. Curses are even more powerful. They are silent harm from their hearts and invisible thought powers. It is also a curse to secretly cut a ground vein or manipulate an ancestor's grave. Curses will lead to the declines and extinctions of families and nations. They will even lead to sudden disasters, so it is best to remain cognizant. Ancestral virtue and sin karma have great impacts on life. An ancestor's virtuous karma can help their descendants to flourish and prosper, but their sin karma can lead them to wither and decline. Therefore, whether our lives are smooth or full of ups and downs, we must consult whether the karma that our ancestors created for us is virtuous or sinful. After learning the answer, we can find a way to remedy it. Otherwise, the trajectory of our lives will not change. Solar radiation. People whose ancestors lived in or near the tropics tend to have darker skin, while those whose ancestors lived closer to either of Earth's poles have lighter skin. This is caused by the amount of ultraviolet solar radiation that is present. We need to be exposed to the right amount for proper vitamin D production, neither too much nor too little. The amount varies with our latitude, and we can often change it to alleviate the damage of insufficient or excess ultraviolet solar radiation. The socio-ecological environment is crucial to the formation of human personalities and consciousnesses. It includes factors such as culture, beliefs, conventions, customs, overall values, and the outlooks on life, and the universe. If you are enclosed in a bad socio-ecological environment for a long time, you will become incapable of distinguishing fragrance from stench. It will be hard for you to know that there are mountains beyond mountains and skies above skies, and you will live very ignorantly. The trajectory of fate is an invisible binding force created by people's previous lives' merits and demerits, as well as an invisible manipulating force. The 18 unmanageable factors of life are an invisible arrangement of the trajectory of fate. Why am I so lucky or unlucky? Why have I met such a noble or unreasonable person? And other such questions are established arrangements along the trajectory of fate. To change that, to resolve or continue your trajectory of fate, you must self-cultivate and self-refine. The influence of mathematics is mysterious. Symmetry and proportion are very important. To be symmetrical and proportional, you must work hard on the math. The figure of the golden section looks beautiful, and this is caused by perfect symmetry and the most appropriate proportions. Symmetry and proportion must follow math strictly. Math is the principle of numbers. The more symmetrical things are, the longer their lifespans, and the more symmetrical a life. Electricity bills, water fees, internet fees, gas fees, fuel fees, transport. Being satisfied and dying blissfully is better than being consumed by worries and regrets. 一求64智论人类生存模式. One Earth, 64 systems. On the mode of human survival. Yearning. April 13th, 2021. Edited by Qin Yu. Inspired by the concept, One Country, Three Systems of Mr. Li Liangbin, who is from Jinshi Province, let us explore the future mode of human survival. The most ideal life mode for humanity in the future is the Yearning-style communism. However, before that, we can implement the One Earth, 64 systems as a transitional mode. The so-called One Earth, 64 systems implies that there can exist 64 different life modes on Earth. Let's examine the following scenario. In a circle, there are cows, horses, donkeys, sheep, pigs, dogs, chickens, ducks, and geese. Due to their different habits, food preferences, In physical characteristics, conflicts, arguments, and fights often arise between them. Chickens, ducks, and geese often complain that sheep, pigs, and dogs trampled on their eggs. Sheep, pigs, and dogs frequently lament that cows, horses, and donkeys snatch their food. Cows, horses, and donkeys often grumble about chickens, ducks, and geese defecating in their feeding troughs. All the animals blame each other for excessive flatulence, making it unbearable for anyone. As a result, no one is leading a good life, and it becomes impossible to live under such circumstances. To solve the above problems, moral education is futile and ineffective. The best approach is to separate them and provide each animal with its own enclosed space, corresponding to their species. This way, we can avoid mutual complaints and torment. The human species has some similarities to the livestock mentioned above. Some people prefer the capitalist way of life, while others prefer the primitive tribal lifestyle, socialism, communism, anarchism, democracy, dictatorship, rice, noodles, meat-based diets, vegetarian diets, monogamy, polygamy, or polyandry. The list goes on. When individuals with diverse preferences are forced into the same mode, conflicts, arguments, and even physical fights are unavoidable. The way to eliminate contradictions and conflicts among individuals is to allow them to live in their respective spheres where they can find peace and happiness. Therefore, my idea is the One Earth, 64 Systems approach. For example, all white people could gather in Europe, black people in Africa, and yellow people in Asia. This would eliminate racial discrimination. Those who prefer the capitalist system could come together to engage in capitalism, while those who prefer the socialist system could come together to practice socialism, and those who prefer the communist system could come together to pursue communism. Similarly, those who embrace Christianity could gather in one place, those who follow Islam could gather in another place, and those who practice Buddhism could gather in yet another place, and so on. Likewise, those who enjoy noodles could eat noodles, those who prefer rice could eat rice, those who enjoy meat-based diets could come together, and those who prefer vegetarian diets could gather as well. Those who prefer monogamy could form their own society, those who prefer polygamy or polyandry could form their own society, and those who advocate for a society without marriage could form their own community for shared relationships. In this way, just like providing separate spaces for cows, horses, donkeys, sheep, pigs, dogs, chickens, ducks, and geese, humans no longer need to argue and fight with each other due to differences in personality, interests, and so on. Why 64 systems? Because human survival requires 64 elements, and none can be omitted. Do you see it? Cows, horses, donkeys, sheep, pigs, dogs, chickens, ducks, and geese are arguing together without any value or meaning, and their arguments will never end. Arguments between humans are also without value or meaning. The best solution is to live our own lives according to our own preferences. Can the above ideals be realized? Certainly not, because those in power won't allow it. Therefore, this proposal is only meant to bring some amusement to everyone when they have enough to eat and drink and have nothing else to do. 把每件小事做完美，你就是非凡之人. Completing every little thing perfectly makes you extraordinary. Xiefeng. April 23rd, 2021. Edited by Qin Yu. As someone in their 60s, I have some life insights and experiences to share with young people, which will undoubtedly benefit you greatly. The most valuable insight and experience from my half-century of life is that by completing every little thing you do perfectly, you become an extraordinary individual, and your life path will only grow wider as you continue. What are the small things you should strive for perfection in? The answer is that every small thing you do each day should be worth doing perfectly. Here are some examples. When interacting with others, whether serving or cooperating with them, always make an earnest effort to bring joy and satisfaction to others. This is especially true when dealing with your superiors, elders, or those who excel in their careers. Let them know that you respect them and are willing to serve them. When performing tasks, never have even the slightest hint of complaints or half-heartedness. When collaborating with others, be willing to give more and enjoy less. making the experience comfortable and valuable for the other person. When interacting with your blood relatives, such as parents, children, siblings, and other relatives, or with your spouse, in-laws, and their relatives, do not focus on personal interests. Instead, give your utmost effort to do things well to the best of your ability. Never expect rewards. Simply express your best qualities and make everyone feel secure and comfortable when they are with you. Most young people will work for private employers or become government employees as civil servants. Regardless of the character of your boss or immediate superiors, regardless of your salary and other benefits, and regardless of whether the working environment satisfies you or not, you should strive to perform the tasks you are engaged in to the highest possible level. Never think that you are working for your boss or the country, or that your efforts are not worth it. Either quit and leave, or put your heart and soul into doing the job well. Whether in interpersonal relationships or in your work, always remember that there are one or several pairs of eyes constantly watching you. Even when you are alone, there are eyes watching. This is the secret I discovered after becoming a guide in Life Genuine. Moreover, be aware that the people watching you are not those of lower or equal level to you. They are always more advanced and outstanding than you. They are the ones who determine whether your future will be smooth. If you fail to do small things well, your path will become narrower as you go. But if you excel in every little thing, your path will widen as you move forward. Every word spoken and every action taken by a person is recorded in the detention information space. Even if tens of thousands of years pass or the Earth disappears, everything recorded in the detention information space will not disappear. Once a word is uttered or an action is taken, it is impossible to change it. Nowadays, the online world and platforms like WeChat provide a vast space for us to showcase our talents. However, we must be vigilant because every word we speak in the online world or in WeChat groups, etc., will influence our future. Every word and every action pave the way for our future. Speaking perfectly and doing every little thing perfectly paves the way to heaven, while speaking and acting in an ugly way paves the way to hell. As I said before, what information you input into the world determines what results the world will give you. Therefore, be cautious with every word you speak and put your heart and soul into completing every little thing perfectly. Every word we speak and every action we take fully reflects our inner world and life qualities. It is important to be aware that sometimes a single word we speak or a small thing we do can change the trajectory of someone's life. All the words we say and the things we do collectively shape the trajectory of our lives. Extraordinary lives are those who complete every little thing perfectly. 不幸是生命旅途上转折的起点。Misfortune is the starting point of turning points on the journey of life. Xiefeng, January 9th, 2022. Edited by Qin Yu. As a guide in Life Genuine, I understand that Life Genuine members who follow the guide to climb the peak of life know that whether it's the articles I write or myself, everything is presented truthfully and transparently to the public. I have nothing to hide or conceal. I am transparent. I am real. There is no hypocrisy, no artificiality, no pretense, no schemes, no tactics. What I say may not be completely correct, and what I do may not be flawless, but what I say and do is a genuine expression of my true self. I speak out about the insights, experiences, and viewpoints I have gained on my journey of life, hoping that they may have some value as references. I experienced the years of hunger in 1958 and 1960 and almost starved to death. That was misfortune. However, the result of this misfortune is that I have found every meal I eat in my life to be delicious, whether it's the sour taste of Northern cuisine, the spicy taste of Central cuisine, or the sweet taste of Southern cuisine. Whether it's Chinese, Western, or African cuisine, they are all enjoyable. This is because I have a belief in my heart that simply having enough food to fill our stomachs in life is happiness. In 1980, I studied at Zhangjiago Geological Technical School, specializing in being a fitter. During one semester, I was assigned to the automotive repair workshop to learn car mechanics. The master had 2 apprentices, and one day the master asked his 2 apprentices to let me practice driving by taking the car to the school playground. The older apprentice explained to me how to operate the car and then got out of the car. However, the younger apprentice grabbed the steering wheel and started the car, practicing without ever letting me drive. During the practice, Students from the fitter class and mechanic class came to the playground for physical education, and the younger apprentice was driving in a reckless manner. It was unfortunate for me that the younger apprentice didn't let me drive, but this misfortune saved me from disaster. Every time I think of that scene sitting in the driver's seat on the school playground, watching the younger apprentice nervously practicing driving, I am grateful that fate didn't let me drive that day. If the person holding the steering wheel had been me instead of the younger apprentice, I could have driven and hit many classmates, with terrible consequences. I might have been born with the qualities to become an official. During my primary school, middle school, technical school, college, and the first semester of university, I was almost always the class monitor. At the age of 18, I became the deputy secretary of a brigade managing 11 production teams. In 1984, I was designated as the director of the third echelon in the geological hydrology third team. In 1988, I was designated as the principal of a school for children of employees in the Geological Bureau. In 1992, I was designated as the director of a prospecting machinery factory. Unfortunately, I messed up all these positions because I didn't take those official positions seriously. Looking back today, this misfortune was actually a great blessing. If I had become an official at the time, according to what my wife said in 1993, I would have already been the governor of Gansu province. If that were the case, there would be a 90% chance that I would have become a corrupt official and could have ended up in prison. Even if I didn't end up in prison, my name would certainly be infamous throughout history. In 1994, while I was abroad, the official's vehicle broke down. I was asked to drive it to Blavoy, more than 200 kilometers away, for repairs. As I was the translator, no one else could handle it. The owner of the repair shop was a white person who said it would take 3 days to fix the car. So I handed the car over to the repair shop and returned to the base. However, that evening, I was subjected to the official's insults. He wanted me to fix the car and bring it back the same day. Faced with such irrational treatment from my superior, I quit on the spot. This unfortunate event led me to leave the system I had finally entered. Later, I started my own business and embarked on the path of self-reliance. Thanks to the irrational insults from the official, I finally found my path to freedom. At a time when there were very few private cars in China, I already had a sedan and a van, and I was living in a spacious villa with a front and backyard and a swimming pool. I employed 2 people to maintain the garden and clean and wash clothes for me. Over 20 years ago, I had a car accident, an unfortunate event. However, it was that car accident that became a major turning point on my journey of life, completely changing the trajectory of my life and leading me onto the way of the greatest creator, finding the way to heaven. In China, due to the establishment of Life Genuine and the second home, I faced suppression from the government. Over 10 communities were destroyed. This was misfortune. But precisely because of these misfortunes, I was pushed to Canada. In Canada, the land is vast, and I live on 40,000 square meters of private land. According to my friends, where I live is a mansion with 10 bathrooms, 2 washrooms, and 6 showers. I enjoy a peaceful, harmonious, and secure heavenly life. From the aforementioned unfortunate events, what have we realized? In fact, when we encounter unfortunate events, we feel anxious, suffer, worry, and even become resentful. However, in most cases, misfortune is precisely the turning point in life. It is truly said, good fortune lies within bad and bad fortune lurks within good. When we understand this, when faced with misfortunes on the journey of life, we face them calmly, accept them willingly, and may even secretly rejoice. Therefore, when misfortune befalls us, we must remain calm, not panic, not go mad, not complain, and certainly not become angry. As long as we are alive, we can await the day when the clouds disperse and flowers bloom. The members of Life Genuine all know that when I lost sight in one of my eyes, everyone worried about me. But I smiled and declared, haha, from now on, I can see everything clearly with just one eye. Since the day I began losing my eyesight until today, I haven't really cared about the loss of one eye. Who knows whether it is a good thing or a bad thing? When the Chinese government released a video message calling the second home created by Life Genuine an evil community, I laughed and felt delighted all day long. How marvelous! Darkness curses the light, and the light becomes even brighter. Calling me Xiefeng, evil only serves to prove that it is a case of thieves crying, "Catch the thief." As a result, the status, value, and significance of Life-Genuine in history will shine even more brilliantly, and future generations will have profound respect when they hear about Life-Genuine. When numerous unfortunate events occur on the journey of life, congratulations! The gates of heaven have already opened for you. Misfortune is the starting point of turning points on the journey of life. Please cherish misfortune. 仇富必将贫穷. Hating the wealthy will lead to poverty. Xiefeng, January 12, 2022. Edited by Qin Yu. Philosophy tells us that the principle of unity of opposites is universal in the universe. For everything, there exists something that is its opposite. If there is an up, there must be a down. If there is beauty, there must be ugliness. If there is wealth, there must be poverty, and so on. This existence of opposites is not only reflected in the external world, but also within ourselves. It means that within the same person, there can also be opposing aspects. For example, if you dislike wearing clothes, then you can only be naked. If you dislike the truth, you can only live in falsehood. If you dislike men, you can only become a woman. Therefore, if you hate the wealthy, you will inevitably head towards poverty. From this, we discover a pattern. Things tend to move towards their despised opposite. Based on this pattern, we can draw the following conclusions. If you hate heaven, you will move towards its opposite, hell. If you hate hell, you will move towards its opposite, heaven. If you despise landlords, capitalists, and the wealthy, then you will move towards being a poor farmer, a wage laborer, or a beggar. If you despise violence, you will move towards peace. Likewise, if you despise peace, you will move towards violence. If a country eliminates all the rich people, that country will inevitably move towards poverty. If a country despises civilization, it will move towards ignorance and backwardness. If all members of a nation respect, admire, and protect the wealthy, that nation will move towards prosperity and strength. On the contrary, if everyone discriminates against, insults, and suppresses the wealthy, that nation will move towards poverty, backwardness, and weakness. Likewise, if a nation, a country, despises nations and countries that are wealthier and more civilized than itself, that nation and country will inevitably move towards poverty, isolation, backwardness, ignorance, and barbarism. From this, we can draw another conclusion. You will move towards what you like. If you like cleanliness and tidiness, you will get rid of filth and messiness. If you like wealth, you will overcome poverty. If you like saints, you will transcend being a laity or mortal. If you like freedom, you will break free from the shackles of slavery. If you like heaven, you will escape the engulfment of hell. Our reality is created by our consciousness. A consciousness of poverty can only create a reality of poverty, and only a consciousness of wealth can create a life of abundance. Just look at Israel and Japan, and then look at Zimbabwe and Venezuela. The logic is evident. Do you want to live in heaven? If so, you must first have the consciousness of heaven. How can you have the consciousness of heaven? Take a look at my descriptions of the 1,000-year world, 10,000-year world, and the Elysium Celestial Islands continent. With those descriptions, you can have the consciousness of heaven. If you don't believe in my description of heaven, then look at the production and living scenes in the real second home on earth. They can also nurture the consciousness of heaven. Without the consciousness of heaven, no matter how much you practice or strive, you will never reach heaven. In conclusion, hating the wealthy will lead to poverty. Consciousness determines one's present situation and future. 如何走出痛苦? How to break free from suffering. Xiefeng, January 15, 2022. Edited by Qin Yu. Feeling uncomfortable, depressed, troubled, anxious, worried, fearful, disappointed, and hopeless are forms of suffering. Suffering originates from three aspects: physical, mental, and spiritual. Physical pain can be endured and healed, and spiritual pain can be eliminated by establishing faith in the greatest creator. However, suffering arising from the mind is difficult to overcome and dissolve. Mental suffering stems from a lack of freedom, whether it be physical, mental, financial, or in one's actions. Any form of restriction on freedom can lead to mental anguish. Therefore, the core root of mental suffering lies in the inability to experience freedom. To break free from mental suffering, the first step is to identify the root causes that lead to such suffering and eliminate them, thereby allowing mental suffering to disappear. How can we find these causes? Start from the closest and move towards the farthest. Because the closer something is, the more likely it is to cause suffering, while the farther away it is, the easier it is to bear the resulting pain. Starting from the closest, the people who have a close relationship with oneself are likely to be the source of mental suffering. Spouse, parents, children, siblings, relatives, neighbors, colleagues, friends, superiors, subordinates, teachers, masters, partners, fellow practitioners, etc. Moving towards the farthest, factors that cause mental suffering mainly come from thieves, bullies, hooligans, gangs, families, tribes, extremist groups and organizations, nations, states, governments, political parties, and religions, etc. For example, restrictions on physical freedom mainly come from marital relationships, restrictions on mental freedom mainly come from political parties and religions, restrictions on financial freedom mainly come from relatives and market monopolies, and restrictions on freedom of movement mainly come from the machinery of the state. When faced with suffering, moral education and preaching from sages and religious doctrines hardly have any effect. Spiritual practices and inspirational quotes may temporarily numb the pain. So-called spiritual cultivation and chicken soup for the soul are merely scratching the surface, and the fundamental solution lies in rebuilding the order of human production and life. The measures and pathways to completely eliminate individual and human suffering are as follows. Eliminate marriage and dissolve families. Political parties should not be involved in government management. Religion should not participate in government affairs. Open borders among countries and allow people to freely move and migrate. Promote the production and life mode of the second home of life genuine. All global citizens move towards the era of life genuine. I have prepared the path for the happiness of all humanity, from theory to practice. The future form of human society will neither be a legalistic form like the United States nor a rule by man like China. Instead, it will be a holographic way guided by saints and managed by sages. At that time, the state of society will be, the talented will be put to good use and the whole world will be one family. No one will pocket anything found on the ground and doors are not bolted at night. The young being well educated and the old being looked after properly, people fully display their talents, and resources are fully utilized. Everyone fulfills their responsibilities, living in peace and prosperity. The world will be harmonious, with favorable weather conditions, thriving industries, wealthy and abundant, and suffering will disappear forever from now on. 走出思维迷思一 How to Break Free from Mental Fallacies, Part 1. Xiefeng, March 2nd, 2022. Edited by Qin Yu. Those who focus on the outcome of life are the most unfortunate, while those who enjoy the present are the most carefree. Many people tend to weigh the pros and cons, look ahead, and consider all the possible obstacles and difficulties before making plans or decisions. I want to say that this is a mental fallacy and a mindset that leads to a pessimistic life. For example, if a couple planning to get married knows that they will divorce 10 years later, they might choose not to get married at all, and even if they do get married, their days will not be as sweet. On the other hand, if they are unaware of the future divorce, they can experience a period of sweetness and enjoy a wonderful time during their love and marriage. Suppose Life Genuine had informed all the Chanyuan Celestials before creating the second home that no matter how many communities we build, they will eventually be destroyed by the government. In that case, would Chanyuan Celestials still have the enthusiasm and passion to create numerous communities? Would they still put meticulous effort into building beautiful and magnificent communities? Of course not. If the results were not revealed in advance, Chanyuan Celestials would wholeheartedly and passionately create communities, even if they were eventually destroyed. What would be the significance in that? Now I ask, are there any Chanyuan Celestials who regretted their decision to participate in the creation of communities? I speculate that there isn't a single one. Why is that? It's because we have experienced a way of life that 99% of humanity has never experienced during the process of creating communities. Through first-hand experience, we have come to know the existence of the thousand-year world, and from there, we can deduce the existence of the 10,000-year world and the Elysium Celestial Islands continent. At the same time, we have experienced true happiness, joy, freedom, and bliss. As a result, our vision has expanded, our mindset has grown, our state of being has elevated, and our understanding of the current state of human society has deepened. Most importantly, our consciousness has transformed from human consciousness to celestial consciousness. This is a leap in life, a transformation, and an adventure on the glorious journey of life. Therefore, I speculate that no Chanyuan celestial regrets immersing themselves in the life of creating communities. Therefore, we come to a thinking conclusion. Engage in life, engage in creation, but do not dwell on the difficulties that may arise during the process, and do not ponder over the outcome, because the outcome is within the process itself. If the process is beautiful, life will be more meaningful, and the result of life is bound to be beautiful. So, do not pursue the outcome of life, for the outcome of life is death. What we pursue is the result of life. When life is elevated, no matter how the process of life unfolds, it will be meaningful and valuable. Even if the government repeatedly destroys the communities we have built, we have already obtained what we were meant to obtain and will never regret it. Look at the historical figures. The outcomes of their lives are almost always unfortunate. Knowing that life can be unfortunate, yet people in the present still passionately strive, struggle, worry, suffer, laugh, and cry. This grand drama of life on the stage continues to play out without any novelty. Those who understand this truth live extraordinary, romantic, carefree lives, while those who do not understand this truth not only lead unfortunate lives, but also face even more unfortunate outcomes in life. This is called awakening, also known as enlightenment. 走出思维迷思2. How to break free from mental fallacies, Part 2. Xiefeng, March 3, 2022. Edited by Qin Yu. Life shines in attachment, while life perishes in attachment. Merging life and life into one is a mental fallacy in life. Life is merely a brief moment in the journey of life, but the unfolding of this fleeting moment determines the scenery of the next journey. Due to the lack of understanding about the mysteries of life and time, people mistakenly take life as the entirety and ultimate meaning of life. Consequently, they perform tragic dramas on the stage of life. The material world is the manifestation of the non-material world, and life is but a manifestation of life. When people are captivated by the appearance of the material world and become attached to the pursuit of material wealth, status, and fame, they miss the opportunity to uplift life and, in turn, sow the seeds of negative consequences. When a fish freely roams in rivers, lakes, and seas and discovers delicious bait, it rushes up and swallows it in one gulp, losing its freedom and becoming a meal on the angler's chopping board. Similarly, when people relentlessly strive for material wealth, power, status, and honor, and eventually satisfy their desires, they are like fish that have swallowed the bait without realizing it, indulging in self-satisfaction. However, they have already become the meat on the devil's chopping board. Not to mention historical and foreign figures, let's take a look at the individuals in modern and contemporary China who have gained fame in the fields of wealth, power, and honor. Aren't they all fish that have swallowed the bait? Now, look at ordinary people. How many of them have been or are still madly devouring the bait like fish? To make one's life brilliant, one must be attached. Attached to making money, gaining power, achieving status, acquiring fame. One can also be attached to one's marriage and family, nation and country, political parties and religions, ideologies, truths, and ideals. As long as there is attachment, life can move towards brilliance. However, when one is attached to something or a certain belief, the flower of life withers, heading towards exhaustion and decline. Consider a couple deeply in love. When they cannot bear to be apart, feeling like the world would collapse without each other, and believing that life has no meaning without their partner. He wants only to marry her, and she wants only to marry him. This is called attachment. This kind of attachment brings about a deeply romantic and sweet period in their lives, reaching the pinnacle of a passionate love affair. However, as time passes and the erosion of daily life begins, they gradually realize that their attachment has become a binding rope. The longer this feeling persists, the stronger it becomes. Because of excessive attachment, they neglect all the other scenery along the way. By the time they grow old, they realize that they have missed countless opportunities to appreciate breathtaking scenery. Beneath their smiling faces lies a sense of helplessness and endless lamentation. An old man descending from a mountain tells young people who are excitedly climbing up, "There is nothing worth seeing at the mountaintop. The view is even better down below." Of course, the young people do not believe him and think, "This old man just doesn't know how to appreciate the scenery." So, they keep climbing, eventually reaching the mountaintop, but also growing old. And what do they find? The old man was right all along. There really isn't anything worth seeing at the mountaintop. Consequently, one by one, these people who were once young and climbed mountains start descending. As they see the younger generation climbing with excitement, they tell them, "There is nothing worth seeing at the mountaintop. The view is even better down below." However, how could the young people believe the words of the old folks? Thus, this story of climbing the mountain continues to unfold from the distant past to the present and will continue into the distant future. In the end, we will discover that especially serious people will die due to their seriousness, and especially attached individuals will die due to their attachments. Nutritionists will die due to nutrition. Excessively clean people will die due to cleanliness. Those desperately seeking longevity will die prematurely in pursuit of longevity. Those who aspire for political power will die due to political power. Those pursuing wealth will die due to wealth. And those scheming to attain power will die due to power. The list goes on. So, where is the best path in life? Take things as they are, associate with others by following naturally come-and-go relations, act in accordance with one's intrinsic nature, and take advantage of opportunities as they arise. Let go of attachment. This is the best path in life, and it also aligns with the path of the sublimation of life. 走出思维迷思3. Breaking Free from Mental Fallacies, Part 3. Xiefeng, March 4th, 2022. Edited by Qin Yu. Life is enriched through possession, while life withers through possession. When people travel by train, they buy a ticket, enter the station, board the train, travel for a distance, disembark, and exit the station. Simple and effortless. Rarely does a passenger want to buy and possess the train they are traveling on, nor do they wish to stay on the train indefinitely. Why don't passengers want to buy and possess the train? Because it is unnecessary, and ownership would become a burden. Likewise, people do not desire to possess commercial airplanes or large cruise ships because they are merely using them for one journey. Perhaps they will only use them once in a lifetime. So why invest time, energy, and money to own them? However, the fallacy lies in the fact that despite knowing we are merely traveling through this earthly realm for a short period, where everything on earth is not worth possessing and even if possessed, it will eventually have to be relinquished, why have humans tirelessly rack their brains over what to possess? Why are they even willing to pay the price of their own and others' lives to possess illusory dreams along their journeys? Let's assume we have 1 million in cash. Is it better to use that 1 million to buy a house, or to temporarily rent someone else's house and use the remaining money for other purposes? For example, renting a house for 1 year with a rental payment of 20,000 yuan. Renting for 50 years would amount to 1 million yuan. From the perspective of life, buying seems better, providing a sense of security and becoming capital to flaunt to others. However, from the perspective of life's meaning, renting is, of course, better because by paying 20,000 yuan annually, one would still have plenty of money left to invest in other fields. This investment may generate more wealth, not only enough to pay the annual rent of 20,000 yuan, but also leave a surplus. In other words, after 50 years, one would still have 1 million yuan in hand, while buying the house outright would leave one penniless. Some may argue that buying a house preserves its value, while money in hand may depreciate due to inflation. However, this is also a fallacy. Houses depreciate every year and may even collapse, while money in hand has the possibility of both depreciating and appreciating. Therefore, we do not analyze or speculate on these contingent factors. What we are analyzing now is whether a possession is worthwhile. The mistaken belief of striving to possess something is a human fallacy, also the root cause preventing humans from living a heavenly life. People feel secure when they possess something. It satisfies not only their practical needs, but also their psychological desires. Consequently, the goal of their entire lives becomes to possess more: land, houses, cars, status, wealth, honor. Moreover, they desire to possess people, such as in a marital relationship, where each claims ownership of the other. This is my man. This is my woman. This is my child, and so on. If you were to ask someone, "What do you possess?" and they answer, "I have a villa and a luxury car. I own a company and a business. I have 200 acres of land. I have 30 cows. I have an iPhone," people would look at them with envy, respect, and even admiration. However, if the answer is, "I have nothing," people would look at them with disdain, contempt, and even scorn. When the mistaken view of life, and values becomes a general principle for the masses, mistakes turn into correctness, fallacies turn into truth, and heaven turns into hell. When a person dedicates their lifetime and energy to possessing more and more things, they lose the qualifications to appreciate the artistic charm of life and obtain a ticket to heaven. Heaven is heaven precisely because every life possesses nothing. It is a state of having nothing. Paradoxically, it is because every life possesses nothing that it achieves the result of possessing everything. When we possess something, we feel secure, and the more we possess, the more fulfilled our lives become. Our vanity attains maximum satisfaction. However, precisely because of our possessions, we are alienated from heaven, and this is the withering of life. 人生八悲, The Eight Sorrows of Life. Yearning. April 3rd, 2022. Edited by Qin Yu. Ancient wisdom states that there are three great sorrows in life: losing one's father in youth, losing one's wife in middle age, losing one's child in old age. I do not fully agree with this viewpoint. First, these three sorrows seem to be unrelated to women themselves. Second, these sorrows are not inherent, but are created by human cognition and culture. My perspective on the sorrows of life is as follows. First sorrow: lack of maternal love in infancy. Second sorrow: lack of playmates and insufficient opportunities for joyful play during childhood. Third sorrow: lack of guidance on being a human during adolescence. Fourth sorrow: lack of love and the absence of establishing beliefs during youth. Time and energy are expended on the pursuit of marriage, family, and materialistic desires, including food, clothing, shelter, and transportation. Fifth sorrow: stumbling in midlife. Sixth sorrow: being abandoned by family in old age. Seventh sorrow: learning the Bible in adolescence, Buddhist scriptures in youth, and the Quran in old age. Eighth sorrow: delving into cultivation methods and techniques, supernatural abilities, and metaphysics. If one of these sorrows exists, life will be filled with regrets. If two sorrows exist, life will be filled with resentment. If three sorrows exist, life will be filled with pain. If four sorrows exist, life will be filled with defeat. If five sorrows exist, life will be filled with chaos. If six sorrows exist, life will be filled with hatred. If seven sorrows exist, life will be filled with suffering. If eight sorrows exist, life will be a prison. I have the supreme method that can resolve these eight sorrows. By following this method, the sorrows can be overcome. 与其道德说教，不如更换程序. Instead of moral preaching, change the program. Yearning. June 25th, 2022. Edited by Qin Yu. Program development always surpasses moral preaching. In the 18th century, England transported convicts to Australia to alleviate domestic prisoner overcrowding and develop the country. The British government hired private ships to transport the convicts. Prior to departure, the ship owners were paid by the government based on the number of convicts on board. In order to maximize their profits, the captains crammed as many convicts as possible onto the ships, resulting in overcrowded cabins with poor air quality. Since the ship owners had already received their payment, they disregarded the life and death of the convicts. As a result, the death rate on these ships reached as high as 12%. One ship, for example, carried 424 convicts, of whom 158 died during the voyage. To reduce the mortality rate, The British government dispatched government officials on each ship to supervise the transportation process. They also set mandatory standards for the convicts' living conditions and provided doctors to accompany them. What happened next? In pursuit of their own interests, the ship owners bribed the supervising officials and doctors. Those who refused to accept bribes were either thrown into the sea or killed by other means. Consequently, the death rate among the convicts remained high. Eventually, the government changed the payment procedure. Instead of paying based on the number of convicts boarded, they started paying based on the number of convicts safely delivered to Australia. As a result, the ship owners made every effort to protect the lives of the convicts, improve their diet and living conditions, and actively seek medical treatment for them. Consequently, the convict mortality rate dropped from 12% to 1%. This is the effect of changing the program. If a certain state is persistently bad, then one should not rely on moral preaching to solve the problem. Instead, consider changing the program. Once the program changes, the state of chaos immediately disappears. For example, in the matter of elderly care, there are moral expectations for children to dutifully care for their parents, with sayings such as, "Filial piety is the foremost of all virtues." However, what has been the situation for thousands of years? Despite loving parents having been around since ancient times, who have seen filial children? Since this is the case, why not change the program for elderly care? Options such as using real estate for retirement, group retirement, hotel retirement, nursing home retirement, retirement pension, and so on still fail to alleviate the suffering of elderly people, especially those without financial means. In fact, elderly care is easily to be solved. Regardless of whether the elderly have money or children, they can all live their later years happily in the second home life mode program created by Life Genuine. Another example is the issue of marital relationships. Few people have been able to handle marital relationships well over thousands of years, and the problems and pains that arise from managing these relationships are too numerous to list. So why get married and start a family? Does not getting married and starting a family mean one cannot live a good life? The second home mode of Life Genuine effortlessly resolves this problem. In this mode, there are no marital relationships, and without marital relationships, the troubles and confusions caused by relationship management disappear. By changing the program, the worries and pains are eliminated. Similarly, in the realm of raising children, reality reminds us that due to the flawed perspectives on life held by the majority of parents themselves, the values, life, and worldviews they pass on to their children remain incomplete. This brings endless confusion and setbacks on the journey of life for the next generation. Therefore, raising children in an environment where they are nurtured and educated by perfect teachers in their spiritual realm frees parents from the labor of raising children and allows children to establish correct values from a young age. Life Genuine has successfully proven this through 10 years of practice. Regarding the issue of funerals, people now say they can't afford to die. Why can't they afford it? Because burial plots are expensive and funeral costs are too high. The easy solution to this problem is the Life Genuine funeral system, created by the Life Genuine community. This funeral system not only makes death affordable, but also allows people to depart gracefully and elegantly. As for wars between nations, for thousands of years, wars between countries have brought great harm to the people. Does humanity really lack the knowledge and wisdom to solve this problem? Not at all. Global unification and the disappearance of nations, allowing people to freely move around the world, create a sense of interconnectedness. Who would fight whom? With the massive military expenses gone, no more soldiers, and destruction eliminated, wouldn't that be wonderful? This is merely a matter of changing the program. What problem in human existence cannot be solved? Floods, droughts, epidemics, social unrest, corruption, wealth disparity, and other issues. Can they be solved through moral preaching? They cannot. But by changing the production and life mode programs that humanity has followed for thousands of years, everything can be easily resolved,